Hewitt versus the United States. Actually published on June 26th by the Supreme Court, but I didn't get around to it until last month because it wasn't a directly immigration case, and the BIA keeps publishing so many decisions that I can't keep up and have a spare moment to do an extra case. But I finally found some last month. It's about the First Step Act. And I'm not going to get into all the nuances of that, but at the end of the day, this guy's, I think he had a lot of armed robberies. And it would have given him a lot more time in prison or made it so he got 305 years in prison. He had a lot of bank robberies. That's what he had.
People still do
305
bank
years.
robberies?
I'm sorry, I don't care what he did. That's what it is. It's I think it's because like prior bank robberies with a federal offense, and the federal offense is always firearm in possession of a felon. Who knows? But some of these bank robberies, portions of the sentences got vacated. By which time the First Step Act applied. So even though they're old bank robberies, he might be able to benefit Mr. Hewitt from sentence reduction and maybe even release. We need not concern ourselves with the nuances of the First Step Act. The point is, though, for immigration reasons, is all the things that the Supreme Court majority, Justice Jackson writing the decision, says about vacated criminal sentences. Very important with matter of Thomas and Thompson from the Attorney General, and then all the slew of BIA decisions published this year, not to mention matter of Pickering from 2005 or 2006, talking about how if a conviction is vacated, it still might mean something for immigration purposes. Not so fast, in my opinion, and many others, and I'll give hats off to the individual who sent me this decision, actually flagged it for me. David Satnarine actually sent this to me and flagged it for me because of what the Supreme Court's saying about vacated convictions. Congress legislates with presumptions, says the Supreme Court. Quote, one such presumption is that vacated court orders are void ab initio and thus lack any prospective legal effect. By operation of legal fiction, the law acts as though the vacated order never occurred, end quote. No discussion on the reasons it was vacated, whether it was because he was a good guy, if it was for immigration purposes, all of that. Of course, this isn't an immigration case. But that is what Supreme Court is saying. Congress legislates with that presumption. So presumably they had that presumption when they legislated the INA. Supreme Court gives an example about how this would apply even with civil consequences of a vacated criminal conviction. Talking about some hypothetical where Congress gives loans but not if you've been convicted. Immigration, also civil consequence of a criminal conviction, right? Quote, a criminal defendant whose judgment of conviction has been vacated is to be treated going forward as though he was never convicted.
Wait, so it's not, it's like so they were convicted, but then they go and vacate it after the fact?
Yes, that's what happens here. And we're talking about in the context of whether he's First Step Act eligible. And of course, Supreme Court also giving a hypothetical about whether someone like this would be eligible for a civil law where you're only eligible if you don't have a conviction for like money or something. Immigration is civil law. Immigration depends on whether the conviction has been vacated or not. And the Supreme Court is saying Congress legislates with a presumption that convictions are vacated and they're done. And just then also giving all these quotes about how the law is to treat people with vacated convictions as if they never had one.
Wow, it's a big deal.
Obviously, it's not an immigration case, but when the Supreme Court speaks, we listen. And there's big things in this decision, authored by Justice Jackson, with, I want to say, Kavanaugh and Roberts, in addition to Sotomayor, Kagan, and that's 5. I believe that's the 5.
Enough,
yeah. Or maybe it's Justice Amy Coney Barrett, I'm not sure. But big deal.
Yeah, big deal.
Think about Hewitt. People are already arguing Hewitt, including me, in immigration.
It's massive for criminalization cases.
Potentially, or there'll be a distinction.